Hello everyone, it's Dr. Manjiri Nadkarni, Ayurvedic MD, registered holistic nutritionist, back today for day 93 of the 100 days of Ayurveda. So I am sitting back in my home office and you can see a few of my favorite plants out here. They're all being winterized. So welcome to another session. And today we're going to talk about muscle mass. Sorry, my environment is distracting me a little bit. So, yeah, if you are watching this live, say a quick hi. If you are watching this as a replay, please put a hashtag as replay. And if you are losing any muscle mass, right, I would really like to know if you're measuring muscle mass or if you feel you're getting tired or, you're losing any kind of muscle mass. We will be talking about that too. And let's discuss a few things, so it'll be pretty interesting. Hello, Darshana. Nice to see you. Hello, Uttamji. Thank you for watching this live. And I'm back now a little bit more regularly than before. So it's kind of interesting to hop on and talk about muscle growth. So one of the most important things is, that when we talk about people getting tired or extremely fatigued or you're feeling cold, right? Your metabolism feels lowered, you feel like really sluggish, and then you get prone to colds and flus, or you're extremely irritable, you're really ungrounded. This all can happen because of depleted muscle mass. So when I talk to a lot of my clients about muscle and muscle growth, they don't want to gain muscle mass. Hello, Ushaji. Hi, Diksha. So, most women are extremely afraid of gaining muscle mass because they don't want to look bulky. They don't want to look like men. They don't want to look like bodybuilders. And the one thing I would say is, I have worked with women bodybuilders who are into, competing professionally like athletes. And as women, because of our hormones, it is extremely difficult to bulk up in terms of muscles. So you don't have to worry about it. So for an average woman, even if she starts focusing on her muscles, she is not really going to bulk up. You're not going to look manly or get lots of muscles on just because you're starting to build muscle. Rather, this muscle mass is something your body will tap into in cases of emergencies, in case you fall sick, or you catch colds or flus, or you undergo any kind of surgeries. Your recovery, how fast you spring back, would also depend on your optimal muscle mass. And this is one of the main reasons that you need to have your muscles. The other thing is that muscles also generate heat, right? Fat also insulates, but muscles do generate heat. So especially in the winter time, if you are extremely, not lean is not the word, but if you're deplete, if you don't have enough muscles, you're going to be way more cold. And people who talk about metabolism, lowering your metabolism, muscle is your metabolically active tissue which is consuming calories even when you're resting. So the more muscle mass you have, the higher your metabolism is going to be, right? The more muscle mass you have, the more you're going to be protected against any kind of colds and flus, because it also determines a lot of your strength. And you will also not be irritable, or you will not feel ungrounded or overwhelmed if you have enough muscle mass. Now, when we talk about muscle mass in terms of Ayurveda, we talk about it as Mamsa Dhatu. And Mamsa Dhatu is the Rasa Rakta Maus. So it's the third tissue in the sequence of your dhatu parinaman, or how your body converts food into various tissues. The first, when you eat any kind of food, it gets digested by your main agni situated in the gut, which is known as jatragni, and that is going to take all the like nutrients and convert them into what we call rasadhatu, which is the first tissue transformation, which then converts into raktadhatu. And these can be correlated to maybe a plasma or lymph, is what some people say. It's way more than that, but just for basic reference, we can talk about plasma or lymph, and then blood, and then the third level is like the muscle level, right? So having muscles is extremely important. And the other thing I talk to women is, when you are talking about anti-aging, right? When you are looking to stay younger, when you don't want your skin to sag, right? Collagen is also extremely important, and that can also be understood as a component of the muscle tissue, right? So if you are losing a lot of muscle mass, if you're suddenly your skin will start sagging, suddenly your collagen is not going to be, made in the body, or you're not eating enough nutrients, you will start aging faster as well. So this is one of the reasons also for osteoporosis, osteopenia protection and all that. You're going to need muscle mass. So it is extremely, extremely important for women, right? Not just men. And most men, because of the testosterone, it's very easier for them to start building muscle when they start with it. When they start exercising, if they have the right diet, if they have the right exercise, it is comparatively easier for them to build muscle, which is not the case for women, right? So that is why we have to focus on this muscle mass. And for those that you are not, you have no idea what's going on, that there is also a condition called sarcopenia, right? So sarcopenia is when your muscles are, you're actually losing muscle mass. So this is known as muscle mass loss, which is related to aging, right? And you're losing muscle mass. It could be known as age-related sarcopenia. That's the technical term. So from the time we are born till the time we grow up to maybe 30 years of age, right? Our muscles are growing stronger and larger. But after the age of 30, if you are not using your muscle mass, if you're not active, if you're not really taking the time to exercise or stretch or engage your muscles, physically inactive people can lose as much as 3 to 5% of their muscle mass, right? So this is why your muscle mass is extremely, extremely important. And I think I have totally forgotten to go online live on my cell phone, but I'm going to do that later on. So this is why it is extremely important for you to have enough muscle mass in your body. And I hope it makes sense, because there are no specific testings that diagnose sarcopenia. But sometimes, if your clothes fit you differently, if you think you've lost a lot of muscle mass in your thighs, or your arms just feel flabby and you're losing a lot of muscle mass, so that is one way you can understand that. The other way is to get tested. There is something called bioimpedance analysis, which is a very simple test. I offer it in my clinic in Sarnia. So if you are based in Sarnia, or if you are based in London, it is an in-person test. I can't do it virtually. So I can hook up electrodes on your hands and feet, and I can put in some numbers into my machine, and then the computer generates all the numbers. But we can assess the amount of muscles you have in terms of percentage as well as mass. So if you are based in Sarnia or London region, just let me know. We can definitely book that test. And it is a very simple test. It is not an expensive test. It's like just $30 for the testing. But that gives you the number of your muscle percentage. It also talks about your fat percentage, your hydration, your water retention. We talk about cellular phase angle, how healthy your cells are. So these can all be tested. But the main thing is muscle mass. Now, for women, ideally you need to have at least 30 to 35% muscles more if you are exercising, right? So if you are usually like doing fair amount of activity, at least 30% to 35% of your body should be made up of muscles, or your body weight should be made up of muscles. If you are a man, it should be at least 40%, because men generally have more muscle mass than women, right? So this is important. And one other reason that I've seen, or one other condition where I've seen a lot of women end up losing muscle mass, is crash dieting, right? So I have seen people undergo ketosis or keto diet, and they're not doing in a proper way, right? And the traditional keto diet is done with extremely low amounts of protein, right? So if you have too much protein and you have too less carbs, right, you're not going to be able to take any, like, get any muscle mass off. I'm just going to ask everybody to hold on for a second, and I am going to quickly make sure that I'm going live on Instagram as well. It's just one of those days where my cell phone is dying. Okay. Okay, maybe I'll do a quick talk. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so some quick points I just shared till now is that muscle mass is extremely important for everyone. So being a woman or a man, you need to have good amounts of muscle mass in your body, and you can easily test the percentage of this muscle mass via what's known as bioimpedance analysis. The other thing I mentioned was that women should have at least 30 to 35% of muscle mass, and men should have at least 40% or more if they are fairly active. And after a certain period of time, like after the age of 30, for every decade, for every 10 years, if you are not active, you are going to lose this muscle mass, right? So at least 3 to 5% of muscle loss happens with every decade of your life unless you are extremely careful about it, right? So that is why it is important to have muscle. I'm going to look at a few questions and say a quick hi. So hi Radhika, nice to see you. Hi Madhavi, nice to see you. Hi Ainslin, you're most welcome. And we also have Bhatt Girish. So hello. So Darshana is saying, how, if somebody wants to lose weight, then how is it possible to lose fat and not lose muscle? So that is a fantastic question, and that is something that I really specialize in. So the one thing that you need to know is, when it comes to exercise, there is a specific way to exercise, right? That will help gain the muscle mass and also lose the fat. But when you are eating, you have to first focus that you're digesting the food and you're having enough protein with each meal. Now, when we look at Indian diets, or the traditional dal rice or some sabzis, or the traditional Indian food that we eat, usually what I have seen, that we don't have a full meal at it as it used to be back at home. When our moms were cooking, they would make sure there is some dal or some beans or some lentils. So there would be this lentil with rice combination, which would provide us with complete protein, which is not seen much in today's world, right? So you have to take care to be able to increase your protein content, and that has to be digestible, and also reducing the excess sugar more than decreasing the fat intake in your diet. What I have seen to work extremely well for fat loss is completely cutting out all unnecessary sugars which are refined, right? So even honey or maple syrup, if you are someone with sensitive blood sugars, avoid that. Hello Angela, nice to see you. So if you are someone with sensitive, a blood sugar sensitivity, or your blood sugar keeps dropping too low or going too high, if you have any blood sugar imbalance, excess blood sugar in the system is going to activate this insulin, which is going to create a lot of fat depositions in the body, right? So cutting out excess sugar is going to decrease the inflammation on your body, as well as, and when your body inflammation decreases, your body can absorb things better. It can actually pick up the protein from what you're eating, and as opposed to the most common myth today, that you do not require too much protein. So for people who are selling you that eat this much protein every single day and you need to have a high protein diet, that is not necessary. You need to have proteins which you can absorb. If you are allergic to milk, chances are your body is not processing the whey or casein present in the milk or the paneer or the yogurt that you're eating. If you are sensitive to beans and lentils, so if you didn't grow up eating a lot of beans and lentils and they make you gassy, bloated, or extremely uncomfortable, chances are you're not digesting those well, right? Or most probably you're not digesting those well, and that is going to create an issue for you, and you're not going to be able to pick up nutrients from that, right? So those are a few points that I wanted to ask. If any of you have any questions, feel free to post it right here in the comment section, and I'll be more than happy to answer any of the questions that you have. But weight loss, if you exercise, if you eat right, you will lose fat. I've had a lot of clients for my complete metabolic reset program, where I test the muscle mass and fat loss before I start the program. I test the muscle and fat loss after the program, right? And usually there is muscle growth and fat loss. And that is how you have to plan your diet accordingly and really cut down on the sugar. So that is one of the key factors when you're looking at losing fat and not muscle. And you have to make sure you're getting enough protein at each meal is one of my things which I really like working with clients, and that helps stabilize your blood sugar. So if you are someone with imbalanced blood sugar, it is really going to help you stay balanced, and your insulin is not going to be overworking or over secreted, right? So that is one of the key factors. So I'm just going to say a quick bye to everyone on Instagram. So this was a little bit about optimal muscle mass. So eating foods having protein, but having protein that is easily digestible is extremely important, and cutting out the sugars is extremely important, and measuring, you have to track. So anything that you're working with, the more you track, the better you're going to understand whether it's working for you or not, right? So I'm just going to say a quick bye to everyone on Instagram. My battery is dying out and I'll be back soon. Thanks. Yeah. So those are a few, factors, and muscle mass is something that is extremely, important to um, talk about and understand, and it's going to protect you and also your strength, right? When we talk about Ayurveda, an optimally nourished Mamsa Dhatu, right, correlates to earth and water element. So it is what we call a kapha dominant dhatu, right? And it is something that's responsible for strength and resilience, as well as courage, as well as self confidence, as well as you look good, and your clothes feel good, your clothes fit good. So that is important. And you feel there's a sense of general well being when you have enough muscles. If you are really tired, like lacking in muscles, you're going to be tired, you're going to be depleted and super cranky, right? So now the question is, can you get enough protein from beans, lentils, and nuts for vegetarian? 100% yes, you can get enough protein from beans, lentils, nuts for vegetarians. One of the biggest tips I would like to give you is soak your nuts. Ideally, if you're using almonds, if you soak them, they become better digestible, and they also work fantastic as a brain tonic. So especially in Ayurveda, we talk about taking 4 to 6 almonds every night, soaking them in water. You can peel those, you can chew those, right? Because you're chewing those, and because you're soaking those, they become easily digestible, and you're chewing it, so they get digested really well, and you can absorb the protein from it. Hemp seeds are also something that's pretty popular today, which is a good source of protein, right? And protein is also found in vegetables. Beans, lentils, definitely. The combination of dal, rice, there is something we talk about as complete protein, and then there are complete protein is the protein which has all essential amino acids, and most animal proteins have all the essential amino acids. That's why they're complete. A lot of vegetarian protein sources are lacking in one or more of the amino acid, and that is the reason why we offer, like, all our traditional diets have certain combinations. An example is the Mexican beans and corn, right? That forms a complete protein. In the Indian diet, when we talk about dal and rice, that forms a complete protein, right? Quinoa is a really good source of protein. Soy is a complete protein. So these are complete proteins, especially for vegetarians. And if you are using nuts and seeds, you have to make sure that you're soaking them in phytic acid, soaking them in apple cider vinegar to get rid of the phytic acid. So phytic acid is something that is going to prevent the utilization of nutrients from the beans or lentils. So always soaking them, making sure they sprout, right? And that is how you can ingest them, because now the nutrients are more bioavailable, right? So these are a few things I wanted to hop on and talk about muscle mass. But if you haven't tested your muscle mass, right? One simple thing you can do at home is maybe start measure your waist or measure your biceps and measure your thigh. And especially if you are someone over the age of 50 and you're not active, and try measuring it every 3 months, right? And you will get a fair amount of idea. Make sure you're measuring at the same spot every day, right? So ideally in the thigh, in your thighs, divide it into like half, and in the halfway you can kind of take the measurement. The same for biceps, just right half here you can take the measurement, and that will help you understand. And when your body goes through a lot of stress, right, when your body goes through a lot of anxiety or any kind of physical stress, so not eating for longer periods of time, you are going to lose muscle, right? If you are someone who's extremely anxious, who is battling a lot of mental stress, which is also very common right now in the COVID situation, right? We're still not out of the pandemic. So this can cause a lot of stress, and stress is going to actually decrease your muscle mass, because every time you're shaking, you're kind of using those muscles to generate heat required for your body, right? Every time you haven't eaten, your body needs energy, and if nothing is available, it's going to tap into your muscle mass, right? So the one main thing to optimize your muscle mass is first to prevent the loss of muscle mass. So if you start eating on a regular basis, whether you're eating twice a day or thrice a day, right, and making sure you're not snacking, making sure you're digesting whatever you're eating is extremely important. The other tip I would love to give you, especially for protein, because we're discussing a lot of proteins today, is to have some kind of sour food. Like, you can either add some lemon juice or lime juice on any of the beans that you cook, or especially if you're eating meats or chickens or fish, try marinating those with ginger garlic paste as well as some lemon juice, right? So even with paneer, you can try the same thing. If it's a protein that you're having a hard time digesting, adding spices, especially ginger, is a fantastic digestive spice. So you can add this ginger, or you can use spices while cooking, and that is going to help you digest your protein. And that is when you're going to pick it up in the body, right? If you don't break foods down, you're not going to utilize the nutrients, you're not going to break it down to amino acids. That starts the cycle of allergies, and that also is going to not make you pick up the protein and not build your muscle mass, right? So this is something that's extremely important to do. So I hope you liked today's video. I'm trying to keep it under 30 minutes. Thank you for watching this live. Hi Himakshi, nice to see you. So thank you for watching this live. If you have any questions about muscle mass or optimizing the muscle mass, feel free to post it here. If you know a friend or a family member that's losing a lot of muscle mass, that suddenly lost a lot of weight, right? And it's really hard for them to, gain muscle mass. That's going to be extremely important. So Uttamji, peanuts, that's also a really good question. That peanuts, in the olden days, peanuts were used a lot, especially where I come from in Maharashtra. We use lots of peanuts in our cooking. In different vegetables we'll add peanuts. But the problem with peanuts is that they can increase your acidity or pitta a lot, and they're also sprayed a lot with pesticides. And because they are ground nuts, where they're grown, they can actually trap a lot of pesticides in it, and they're not so clean. Peanuts could also have hidden mold on them. So I'm not a big fan of peanuts, right? So one of the alternatives is almonds in place of peanuts right now. So almond butter in smaller amounts. I don't even recommend a lot of almond butters because they're really sticky, right? If they stick to your palate, they're probably going to stick inside and not get digested that easily. But vegetarian sources of protein are, you can also have paneer if you can digest it, any kind of cottage cheese or paneer. Especially when we talk about different prakrutis and dosha types, the vata types are the ones who struggle the most with having good muscle mass. They're going to lose muscles pretty fast. Pittas can be athletic because they really like working out and they can build muscle, and kaphas have usually good amount of muscle mass, because they have a heavier frame and because they're also very earthy, right? They have good amounts of muscles. So the biggest prakriti that struggles really with putting on this muscle mass is vat prakriti. So for them, making sure, the protein, because they also have issues digesting, so making sure you are always eating the kind of protein you can digest, right? And adding anything like even lime juice or lemon juice is going to help secrete your stomach acid, right? And is going to help you digest that better. So hemp seeds, quinoa, different kind of nuts, peanuts in moderation occasionally is totally fine, but not all the time, right? Don't make it your staple. Like when I make sabudana khichdi, I never make it without peanuts. It's like a must, because certain recipes should never be changed. They should be eaten exactly the way they are traditionally prepared. So I will use peanuts then, and at that time they help balance the carb that the sago or tapioca has, or sabudana has. So definitely, occasionally peanuts are fine, but don't rely on it for building your muscle mass, right? And exercising is one of the key factors. Even yoga postures, anywhere where you're focusing, you're using your own body weight, right? So yoga asanas, if you're doing downward dog, if you're doing push-ups, you can do wall push-ups, you can do any simple exercise. But when you exercise, that actually helps stretch your muscles. And if you're lifting weights, you're actually breaking the muscle down, so the nourishment happens at resting, right? And also, a word of caution is exercising too much or beyond your capacity is going to create more muscle loss, right? So always exercise within your capacity. Do not over exercise. I've seen a lot of my clients, who love exercising, especially the pitta types. They love exercising, they love challenges, and every time they get stressed, they hit the gym, right? But they forget to eat, and instead of building muscle mass, they're going to lose muscle mass, right? So this is extremely important to identify your diet. It is extremely important to identify your lifestyle, right? And what is creating this muscle loss. So stopping that is the first thing. Eating enough protein at each meal which you're digesting is also important. You do not require tons of protein. Again, I'm saying, you don't require to eat a steak every single day. You can easily be a vegetarian or even a vegan and get enough protein if you plan it properly, right? So thank you for watching, and I am signing off today. I will be back next week. Next week is also something exciting I'm planning, because we are heading into Diwali. So around November 13th is Diwali, which is also Dhanteras, which is also Dhanatrayodashi, which is also Ayurveda Day, right? So it's the International Ayurveda Day. It is celebrated everywhere, and it is a fantastic day just to, completely show your love for Ayurveda. So I'm planning like a special event. I'm keeping it under wraps, but I'm going to plan something special for everyone for Ayurveda Day. And it will be a lot of fun and lots of engagement and lots of things people can participate in. So there are going to be a lot of interactive sessions, and it'll be a fun time. So I'm really looking forward to planning that. Thank you all for watching. I will be back soon. So thank you, Ushaji. Thank you, Uttamji. Thanks, Hemakshi. So thank you for watching this live. I will be back next week. Again, Tuesdays and Thursdays is when we are going to be back completing our 100 days of Ayurveda. And next week is also for Wellness Wednesdays. It's the men's health that I'm going to focus on. And for men's health, focus, we are going to talk about prostate health, and we're going to talk about different conditions pertaining to men. So I will definitely be talking about that on Wednesdays. Thank you once again. Have a fantastic night, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.